Hello my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Navigating Wellness. Now many of you may like Nutella or all those chocolate spreads, but the problem with store-bought chocolate spreads is that they're always loaded with toxic ingredients. Things like excessive amounts of sugar, hydrogenated oils, things that you generally want to avoid if you're trying to stick to a healthy diet. However, there are alternatives, and that's what I want to share with you in today's video. An alternative to making Nutella, how we can make a all-natural, whole food, plant-based chocolate spread that's going to be epic and delicious and good for you at the same time. Now, this recipe is quite modifiable. It's using a lot of whole foods and it's super easy to make. So the number one main ingredient that we use in the base of this recipe is ripe avocados. So I'm using about 3 ripe avocados that I've already prepared and placed in the chopper. And the other ingredients that I use is dates, and that's to add the sweetness. So what I do with the dates is I soak them in hot water to make them soft and let it blend quite smoothly when I add it to this recipe. But I'm not going to be adding the water, just the dates to the recipe. Then I'm going to add cacao powder to this as well, and probably about 2 or 3 teaspoons or more of cacao powder, depending on how much of a chocolate taste you want it to have. And then a little bit of salt, like about a pinch of salt. And then the other optional ingredient that you can add is maple syrup. Now, I generally like the very dark amber maple syrup because it gives it a very nice taste. However, it is an optional ingredient, so if you're trying to avoid excessive amounts of sugar, you can always reduce the date content as well as the maple syrup in this recipe, and you can go ahead and make it without that. So with that said, let's get down to business and let's add all these ingredients to the chopper, and then I'm gonna blend it up into this really delicious chocolate mousse. Now, one thing to say before I get started is I try to use organic avocados whenever possible, because we know what Bill Gates is doing to all these avocados, spraying them with all sorts of funny stuff that you generally want to avoid. So where possible, I try to aim for organic avocados. If not, then just recognize that maybe there's chemicals that are being added to a lot of these whole foods that we tend to use within these recipes. But that said, let's get down to business. So first up, I'm going to add the cacao powder. And for now, I'm just going to add about 3 teaspoons of cacao powder. And if I find that the taste is not chocolatey enough, I'll add more afterwards. So it's not something that if you mess up, you're going to have to worry about. Next up, I'm going to add the pinch of salt to it, and a little bit of the maple syrup. I don't add too much, but maybe about a cap. And finally, I'm going to add the soaked dates. Now, it's optional in terms of how many soaked dates you want to add to it. I'm going to add about 6 or maybe 7. So there we go. I'm going to now blend this up and turn it into a deliciously smooth chocolate mousse. Now, do give it a taste test just to make sure it's good, and if you need to add any additional ingredients. Now, I noticed with this one, maybe it could use a little bit more of the cacao powder. Now there you go, friends. This is the epic chocolate mousse that you can make, that you can add to anything that you generally use Nutella. Instead of using Nutella, you're going to use this deliciously creamy, epic chocolate mousse for your recipes. It's absolutely simple to make. You can avoid having to use the toxic Nutella and aim for something that is so simple, so easy to make, and literally just took me less than 5 minutes to make. Very simple, very easy, very modifiable too. If you want it a bit more creamy texture, you can add things like coconut milk to it as well. It's going to give it more of that silky texture. If you want to thicken it up, then you can add things like nut butter to it. It's going to thicken it up, and you can use it as a chocolate spread on your favorite sandwich or whatever cake recipe you're making and you want to add a chocolate layer to it. Then this is a much more healthier option than using a number of those toxic products that we find on the store shelves today. Alright, there you go my friends. This is my absolutely epic chocolate mousse recipe. It's super simple to make. It's ready in just a few minutes. it's very simple to make here. Anything that's complicated, I'm probably gonna get wrong in any case, but these recipes, they're whole foods, they're plant-based, they're very simple to make, where you can avoid having all these toxic ingredients that are added to store-bought things like Nutella and other chocolate-based spreads that have excessive amounts of sugar or oils in them. They usually add preservatives to keep them going quite long. This has a very short shelf life, so it's something you generally want to consume quite quickly so that the avocados don't go off. Alternatively, if you are going to be freezing it, you could do that as well. Now, I prefer to put this in the freezer maybe about 10 minutes or so, just to let it cool off a bit and give it a bit more of a better taste. Some people try and look for alternatives to ice cream, but they don't want to have bananas or some of the fruits in there, then this is another alternative. People on a keto diet, they could try this, but minus the sugar elements. So this is another recipe that you could try out. I find it is an epic replacement for things like Nutella, and it's super easy to make. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next epic recipe video.